Salam alaikum alaikum sala. This is Tata Matamba. Today I'm doing a video on the Dikenga kobongola from the Lemba Sensu method and the book Conversations with the Dead. Before we start, in each video, like Masa, Tia, and Mokumbe, I stated that each sign speaks positively and negatively, depending on the conversation that you're having with your Nkisi. Here, it states negative. That all depends the conversation that you're having with your Nkisi, if you're having a consultation, and also if you're doing a consultation, the gender and of the person and the age. You have to keep these factors in mind because the message will be a little bit different. I remember Mokumbe, if you guys seen that video, Mokumbe, this in Sansa, right, 3 down and 1 up, it was a no that teaches. It stated no, right, but a no that teaches. And this is a no that brings change, brings rapid change, and you'll understand why. Kobongola, this Dikenga can also be called Muya, or it can also be called Ntembo, which represents the air, the air that the changes, and force of nature. Here it states air, hurricanes, sandstorms, thunderstorms, tornadoes. And each infumo, I state this in every video, you have to remember each infumo. I highly recommend each infumo, each Nganga specialist, each Tata Nkisi or Padre Nganga or Godfather, somebody who's high ranking within the religion, or you have received something. You have received an Nkuyo, you have received some type of an Nkisi, an ancestral force, right? You receive some type of an ancestral force. You should always go out to nature and observe, because the nature, the secrets are within nature, and nature teaches us. It teaches you how to heal yourself, how to heal others, and it teaches you the balance of life. So right, when we go out to nature, or when I go out to nature and I observe the air, which this is the sign that speaks about the air, I want to start off with that this sign and this Dikenga, right, and the Dikenga of Masa, the sign of Masa, they're somewhat similar. This sign grabbed some traits from Masa, from the water, and if you see it from a chemist perspective, you'll understand that within oxygen and water and the air and in that sense. So I can give you an example, right, like this. What the ocean is to the fishes, the air is to us. There's a separate world from ours, even though we use Masa to live, and we spoke about Kalunga, that force of nature. This force of the force of nature of air, we live in it, we breathe in it, and everything else lives in the atmosphere, lives in nature. So, which is, we call it in Palo, we say centella, indoki, mariwanga, the air, that force of nature. It's our ocean. It's what gives us life. So this is a very positive sign. When this sign comes out, it speaks positive, but it also carries a lot of negative things with it. Different negative things of each sign. Each sign speaks specifically other things. So when we go out to nature, right, and we observe, we can see that the air has some traits like the water, like the ocean. And in fact, right, the air is in the cycle of the water, and the cycle of water, it needs air to be able to move. And You have to see it in this sense, right? This sign speaks of a lot of change, fast change, rapid changes. Um, because, like the ocean's in constant movement, when water goes through its cycles, air also, assimilated this trait. It's in constant movement also. It always moves just a little, but it flows just like water. And we, the same way our bodies, when we sweat, we get hot and our body sweats. Well, when the earth gets hot, it rains. The ocean, the water, and its cycles. For it to rain, the air moves around that water. It cools the earth, right? The futu, the bigger parcel, and we're the smaller futu, the smaller parcel within it. And we're a smaller world within the bigger world. And we see that, the same way we sweat, we get hot. Earth itself also gets hot, and it needs, water to cool it. And this sign, right, Muya kobongola, the air is the one whose responsibility, whose function within nature. That's what it does. It cools and it brings tremendous change by, the forces of nature, the air, hurricanes, sandstorms, thunderstorms, tornadoes. And through hurricanes, sandstorms, thunderstorms, and tornadoes, all of these brings change across the land. Also, for the trees, the taller trees to fall down, and the younger ones can now reach the light. Everything changes. To bring so much water, it floods and it moves around the seeds and the dirt and the ants and everything. But it does it in a way that it's catastrophic, a way that is fast changing. So this science speaks of that. I have to keep all of this in mind. Another thing, right, that we can look at. When we look at water, masa, we spoke about waves, right, of the mind, that you have to be gentle, soft. So, and tsunamis and all these things, but mostly waves, the vibrations, right? The air also assimilated that trait. Vibrations, it fluctuates like vibrations and moves like vibrations. And I said in the other video, we are a smaller piece of the bigger whole. And when we come into this world, right, when our mother gives birth to us, when we inhale, our first inhale, that's when our spirit gets encapsulated within our body. And when we, pass away, or when we separate from the physical body, in other words, when we die and we give our last exhale, our soul, our being leaves with it, leaves through that breath. So our true being is inside. It's in the air. And we're constantly shifting, fluctuating. We're moving in and out, in and out, in and out. And you have to see it in that way or form, the heart and other things, they tie us to the body. But once the body breaks, it cannot function. There's not a balance to our system. Our spirit leaves out and we cross over to the spiritual realm. So when we're in the spiritual world and we're coming to the physical world, that first inhale is when our being enters the body. We grab that inhale. Now, I was speaking about the waves, right? The air, we can communicate all the vibration and assimilated that trait. And we can't see the air, we can just feel it. And we breathe it. That's what we truly are. It's invisible. And there's many things happening in the air. like a lot of vibrations, a lot of codes, like the Wi-Fi, music, um, especially more in the sense of you gotta look at communication, the radio waves and Wi-Fi, and all of these things are happening in front of us and we can't see them because but it carries messages, it carries communication. So this sign, when it comes out, all the time, this sign comes out, the person is a medium, is a strong psychic or strong empath, can feel vibrations. Music can change their feelings, their tones. They can feel people's vibrations or their energy. They feel energy. And in that case it's kind of like me. I just feel the it's like not intuition, but I can just feel. I feel what's around me. That's the only way I can explain it. Now, you have to keep all these things in mind. The person's a medium, and obviously, this is a binary code, right? For the spirit to communicate with us. By the way, when we cast the chamalongos, and they're in the air, and they hit the ground, all of that, the spirit is within the air, manipulating, making sure it falls. And I don't want to go in too deep because we're gonna get into gravity and other forces, but that also speak here. But I don't want to go in too deep. Now we spoke about the negatives of hurricanes, sandstorms, thunderstorms. The positive thing of it, it cools the body, it cools, the planet, and on all that sense. Now, negatively, obviously, it brings fast change. Things are done too fast. And I spoke that in the other video, Mokumbe, between Sarabanda, Centella, Kalunga, and Kauai, those inquisis that bring rapid change. Too fast, catastrophic change, and this sign speaks of that. So the health, right? It says asthma, bronchitis, pneumonia, pulmonary fibrosis, chronic obstruction, pulmonary disease, and lung cancer. All of that speaks here. And the body part, lungs, esophagus, throat, nose, and the right knee. The right knee, okay. I'm gonna add on to the health in a second from an observation and from the knowledge that I have. Prosperity, the person has luck but needs to do an insada to maintain financial stability. Just like I was stating, right? Air, you have to see it. Air manipulates, or it transcends, it moves, it networks. In other words, you have to see it like a network. It's all over the place. Air, makes sure that water moves. With fire, it gives life to fire. It erodes or rust the earth or metal, right? It affects all the elements. It even bends metal. If you ever been in a hurricane, you know that a tornado can literally bend a metal pole. It picks up cars and smashes them. It does, this force is very strong in that sense. Now, because of that, right? If we look at it in the sense of a person acting like a tornado, acting like a hurricane, it brings a person can just shut down and just make a decision that has catastrophic change with rage. Not, Mokumba is that brutal force, but here is rage, that rage of change, real fast, moves things really fast. And you can see that in a person's life. This sign comes out, hey, this person, they're mellow. They can be like the wind, when it's mellow, that little light breeze in a hot day. The temperatures, it's a good 60 degrees Fahrenheit. It's perfect outside. But also that person's temper can go up, and it can be a hurricane, bring catastrophic change. Like if it gets too hot, way too hot, and that, out there in the Caribbean, and all that water gets sucked up into the atmosphere and it starts to create a tornado. You see, if the person in life is living a very is being dominated or is being abused and is feeling all that temper, all that is hiding, is holding within its being, is a person is feeling suffocated, all of a sudden a tornado or a hurricane is gonna be forming in their head, and they can make a decision that will have an effect like a tornado or like a hurricane catastrophically in their life, like killing somebody, screaming and arguing and bickering and all these things. And we'll keep going on for a little bit forward in the book. Prosperity, just like I said, right? The person here, this is a good sign also for prosperity, because it networks. Is good for trade, because the air is constantly trading things and moves things. It brings change, and when change comes, if you do change positively, then you're going to progress. If you do change negatively, then you're going to have your downfall. So for business, you can see it in that sense. Trading, having a business of you receiving money and giving great service to a community, like a tire shop, and all businesses speak here also. Let's see, relationship. The person wants to do an inside to obtain a spouse. Not in all cases, and once I finish, reading the whole, we'll get into it. Not in all cases. Family, right? The person has issues with their family. The family of this person is a burden to them, right? Okay. Personality. The person does not discriminate. The person's living an illusion, and that right here, that illusion, falls into the family and the relationship. The person feels superior to others deep down. The person isn't far from being crazy, and the person has great spiritual powers and can be a great medium. Animals here is the owl and the bat. I don't want to speak too much about the bat, and there's other animals here like I don't want to give that out. At least the owl, an owl within our religion in Matamba is looked at as death itself, death's messenger. And there's certain insidas that we do with the owl, and certain things. We'll go into that because the owl, it hears the vibrations. It sees, it hunts, and it flies quietly. It's undetected, just like a tornado, and like that before it grabs the mice. So those animals are right on spiritual. Which in Kishi's picture, Sentei and Doki, which this is Marihuanga sign. Lucero, Coainde, Setejayo, Sarawanda, and even Kalunga, all of them speak through here. All in Kishi speak here. Spiritual advice. The person needs to understand life doesn't revolve around them. The person needs to take advice from the elders and the dead. The person's obsessed with winning. The person needs to be initiated. Initiation here for this sign should be because they're mediums, they're empaths. They have great psychic abilities, and it's hard for them. Most of the time, when it comes, to a person's personal life, if it's a woman or if it's a man, they're people that are misunderstood. The person that we know that has this sign, and they're in Sila Congo Sente or Marihuana, right? Most of the time, they live an illusion. They paint things in their head. They don't live too much in the physical realm. They live in their minds. They build castles and the whole life in their head and what they want to experience, and they think a lot. And that's what I wanted to add, right? In health, here psychosis, schizophrenia, Also, what you call multiple personality disorder. These disorders speak in other signs, but here the person has that, can have that cause of this sign, especially if they're not in tune or not balanced with their spiritual gifts. It can hinder them. It can hinder them. All right, this sign, kobongola, muya in tembo. Right, this sign. You know, when you live positively, for the person to live positively, for the person to live positively, they have to be grounded. In the sense, they have to find stability. You know, they have to find stability. They cannot be like the wind, like the air. They cannot move around and their thoughts and change plans and do this and constantly flowing. They cannot. That's gonna, you know, they're not gonna move. And the only way, you know, that the person progresses, they'll progress, is when something catastrophic happens. You know, when they make those decisions that are not well thought of, and they just make the decision by feeling, by the stress, by the heat of the moment, and it brings tremendous change. And then they start to feel it again. They feel themselves stuck. They feel themselves not progressing. They feel themselves alone. And this sign also, the people, they tend to give a lot also. They tend to, you know, not focus on themselves but focus on others. And you know, the air does that, right? It moves water, it cools, it gives life to heat, just like that. It gives and it gives and it gives. If this comes out in a consultation, if it's a man or a woman, they tend to have very strong morals and codes when it comes to family and loyalty. And that's why it says, in the family, it says the person has issues with their family. And why? Because they're misunderstood. They're truly misunderstood. And it's hard. A person that has a sign, it's hard. It's hard because when they live the negative aspects, when they don't have stability, when they haven't grounded themselves first spiritually and made a decision to be dedicated, to have good habits, good character, they won't find, if they're not living like that, they won't find the stability, and they cannot progress. And all of this will cause a lot of emotion inside of them, a lot of stress. Now, if they find stability, if they define themselves, if they make the decision to sacrifice and to grow, there's nothing that's gonna stop them. I can guarantee you this, there's nothing that's gonna stop them. And they're very stubborn. When they say, hey, I'm doing this, they're gonna do it. No matter if the world is falling apart, it's gonna be a tornado. They're gonna bring change. They're gonna be persistent like a tornado. Whatever it's in its way is gonna move it. They're gonna find a way. So this sign brings tremendous change. It's a sign of change. And you know, change is not always bad, but it's not always good either. You know, when we're speaking about change, we're speaking about growth. And to grow, you have to, you know, other things have to die. You have to obtain more energy. Things have to die, or to obtain positions, those people will lose their jobs. So you have to see that the exchanges that happen between us, right? The pulls and the pushes, all of this. You can see in the sense of the yin and yang, the bigger picture of it all. And the people that have this sign in a consultation, they're like that. They see the bigger picture most of the time. If they have a positive character, they see the bigger whole. They want things for the bigger whole, and they'll sacrifice themselves for the picture of the bigger whole, because this sign is extremely strong. Now, negatively, right? When the person doesn't have stability, right? They don't have stability at all. they're just gonna wander through the world, right? And they're always gonna find a way to be spiritual. They're gonna have those spiritual abilities. Here, dreams, right? This sign speaks also the ability to have dreams. When you're sleeping, you go to sleep, the change from being in your physical body to transport or to shift into that dream state, that lucid dreaming, also um, is that's what happens here. You know, that to transcend from one state to another. It speaks of this here, and the dead speak a lot here. A person has strong spiritual abilities. Now, if they become dedicated, right? If they become people who are dedicated leaders, and most of the time, these people, right, they like to isolate themselves, but also um, they're social, but they also like their that me time, you know, that time for themselves to think, to ponder about their life. Um, and in this sign, if the person has a sign, you know, you should advise them not to use LSD, not to use shrooms like mushrooms, um, any of those harder drugs that affect your mind, or any of those drugs. You have to be very careful, because a person is always looking for a way out, for a way to see things in a different perspective, because they have this sign, they don't see life the same way most people do. um, Deep down they have an ego, they do, but when they make their decision, it's not based on their ego. And it states here they cannot discriminate. The same way, you know, a hurricane comes through bringing change for everybody. It doesn't care if you're a child, if you're an old man, if you're a man, if you're a woman. It doesn't matter who it is. If you're a tall tree, a small tree, a cat, a dog, you're gonna feel the wrath of those 180-mile winds coming to you. You're gonna change. Everything's changing. It does not matter. You know, the same is with the person. The person wants, you know, if they don't have that stability within their emotions, they need to have stability in their emotions and in their mind. If they can find that, and I recommend people who have this sign meditate. They have to meditate. They have to breathe, and they have to connect with nature. They have to, because if not, they're not gonna find stability. You know, if you have, like, from my experience, when I first received my Nkisi of, you know, Sente, I was just a boy, and I had tremendous support, tremendous godfather, and he grounded me. You know, he was my stability within the spiritual path. In other words, if somebody has this sign and they don't have a godfather, they don't have a guidance or something to guide them in the spiritual realm, or to grow spiritually, they're going to lose themselves. They're going to end up being crazy. And I was saying about LSD, mushrooms, ayahuasca, like DMT, all of these things, do not consume them, because, you know, these things can rewire your brain, and you can live, it can cause psychosis, schizophrenia, and it's gonna be permanent. You know, you have to be very careful. Do not consume any of these things. Even though, you know, these plants, all these plants are, even marijuana, I don't even recommend you consuming marijuana, nothing that alters your mind, because it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard for you to get. You're gonna get addicted, or y'all know they say you're not gonna get addicted to marijuana, but you're gonna find stability in it. You're gonna find that you're looking for, and you're gonna lose yourself. You're going to lose yourself. Emotions, to the meditation, for them to be, you know, control your emotions and find a way not to have this sign. You have to tell a person, try to find a way not to think so much. They calculate extremely well. They have a lot of tactic, and then all of a sudden or if they're grounded, they have to have that. You know, if they live the positive of it, of this sign, they're very tactic. They're very mellow. They know how to maneuver through things, soothe things, and when it comes to speech, um, that if the positive sign, they can be great speakers, great teachers, um, great healers, and spread. You know, they can spread compassion, love, understanding. I live the negative, all the opposite. They're gonna live all the opposite. Them themselves will not be able to function within the world. So this sign speaks extremely, extremely deep. Now, when we speak about change, right? Air, everything always is in constant change. It's constantly changing. The river is always flowing. The birds are flying. Everything is in constant movement. All those, if you look at it from a chemist or a scientist perspective, all those atoms and vibrations and forces of nature are constantly changing within the physical realm. Everything is vibrating. Everything is interchanging energy. Just this sign brings that rapid change. And for that, you know, the person have to learn to be mellowed out. When we speak about family here, the person loves their family, you know, very family orientated. Majority of the time, they're very family orientated. Deep, even if they have their issues, their troubles, and it has some trauma and things like that, deep down they love, you know, deep down they love. They have that feeling, and they tend to be more conscious in that state. When they sit down and they think about their issues, their problems, they always find a way to be more conscious about it, to be more reasonable, right? They, you know, even though, you know, in the heat of the moment, that's where the negative part comes in. So, you know, if the person, you know, your Inkisi will let you know exactly what's going on, right? Because you have to understand, if this sign comes out and other signs can come out for the person, and you'll know now. I'm gonna keep going through that, right? I'm gonna keep speaking about that so you guys can grasp that. Grasp this advice, take this advice, right? If this sign comes out, or if you're in Sila Congo, is this sign. In the heat of the moment, or when life, you know, you find yourself in a battle or in a certain dispute, an argument, you have to understand, you have to breathe. That's why I recommend to meditate and be alone. You know, leave, take your time, separate and breathe, because you'll be able to then, you know, use or live the positive aspect of this Dikenga, of this force. You know, the person loves to have those illusions, to calculate, to see things in their mind and live those aspects and those understand of like, oh, I know this happened with my husband, or this happened with my wife, or my mother, or my brother, or my husband, or my children. They're coming from this angle, speaking to me. And you see, you're able to communicate and see things more clearly, because in the heat of the moment, it's like clouds. You're not going to be able to see, you know, what truly matters deep down. And, you know, anger will build within the person's emotions, and I don't know where the hurricane or the tornado is gonna come down, you know. Then I don't know where the level of argument will skyrocket, and you know, hopefully, no physical altercation happen. But here it speaks of that. Physical altercations also speak here. Mokumbe speaks of it, but this sign is even more violent than Mokumbe. Mokumbe, it shows aggression, it shows brutal force, but this sign, it does it. This sign does not speak of it, does not know. This sign does it. When the judgment gets clouded, it closes up. The person literally closes up. They stop thinking and they start doing. And this can bring a lot of issues for them. You can stab a person, you can shoot a person, you can slap a person, the many negative ways, or you can say something, to a child, to your son, to your daughter, in a way that, you shouldn't have, so you got to work a lot on your patient or with your partner. Sometimes you have to be more conscious. Your partner the person might themselves not be conscious, might say things or bicker, and remember, this person feels that vibration, that anger, and it adapts to it. It has an effect in them, and they rise also. It's like they get affected by the energy around them. So you have to be very careful, right? I'll give you an example with me. In my profession, in my day-to-day life, I constantly work on my patient. I constantly work on meditation to calm, and always try to see things from a more conscious level, to be more conscious, to be more considerate, to see things in other people's shoes. Like if a person, I'm driving down the road and somebody cuts me off, or by accident, something happened, somebody flicks me off, and I feel that rage that when they flick me, you see, that revenge, that want to get back, and you might not know, see things more in a conscious way. You don't know what that person is feeling or going through. You see, I always take the more mellow path. You don't know what's going on in their life. You don't know what they're going through, what's going on in their households. You see things more consciously, because if not, it's going to be your downfall. So your emotions here, you have to have them under control. And 99% of people that I meet, unless they're spiritual, they don't have control over their emotions. Things happen to them and they just feel. See, I don't have control over the outside world. None of us do. We only have a certain level of control with our decisions, but we have complete control over our emotions. See, if somebody says something to you, or does something to you, the way that makes you feel, you're giving them that control. You cannot, fall into that. You have to have stability in all aspects of your life. Financially, stability. Find that stability there. You have to have in your relationship, find a way to find stability. If you have to go to marriage counseling, if you have to communicate, understand. Here, the sign I just spoke, communication. With this sign is a lot of communication. You have to communicate. Being a parent, this person always tends, because it's the person's spiritual. The person always tends to look upon their ancestors, their grandparents, their great grandparents, their mothers, and observe what happened and learn from them, and see those negative decisions, those negative traits within the family tree of separation, of lack of stability. You have to learn from that, be more conscious in that sense. And this person, if you see those things, learn from those traits, because if you have this sign, the person tends to observe and create worlds in their mind, live things through their mind, illusions, and naturally that happens within you. And if you live in that illusion, at least live an illusion that is making you stronger, giving you stability, and helping you grow, move forward. Not fluctuate, not move back and forth like the wind, but to move forward, to bring positive change. And when we get, as parents, if it's a woman or if it's a man, he's a father or a mother. This person most of the time does not discriminate, does not care about blood, does not care, if it's your true son, does not care about, if your son has a best friend, now that friend can come sleep over, and that friend becomes part of his or her responsibility. This person it tends to be like that because air gives life, it feeds everything, it moves, it holds all that responsibility, and it's extremely loyal. But obviously, if things go south with this type of person that has this sign, you can more than likely you're going to see a lot of change, and extremely fast. Mental health is big in this sign also. I spoke about psychosis, schizophrenia, depression also speaks of here in this sign. I personally never experienced it, but when this sign comes out, most people will have that, and it's because of the energies that the person feels. It's lack of stability within their power, their understanding. Because this person always wants to think outside the box, always wants to give reasons to things. They want to give reasons to why are we here, what's the purpose of this, why is that, why did you do this, oh look at this, and see things from a way different perspective. And things happen to them and they can't move forward. They're stuck with that issue, and they try to find a way, and illusions after illusions after illusion, but there's no action. Just like the wind, they're just there, just being stuck in the same thing, that same cycle, until one day, the person's tired of seeing all outcomes, of seeing all of this, and says, the hell with it. And they move like a tornado, they move like a hurricane. All these things were building within them, and they bring tremendous change. Now, if the person is able to find stability in their minds, in their emotions, in their thoughts, and make a decision for a certain goal in life, and obviously pay the sacrifice, do what is required, there's nothing that's going to stop them. There's nothing that's going to stop them. Not even death itself. These people, this sign is very strong when it comes to goal orientated. If this sign comes out and it speaks positively, oh boy, this is a good sign. It speaks a lot of things. The spirits of the dead speak here a lot, like Centella, and it's mysteries. The mysteries of Mariwanga here, and it goes in very, very deep. And most of the time, how the fire, these people who has this sign, they cannot be around gossip. They cannot be around those lower vibrations, because they'll drain you. They're going to drain you, and you cannot fall victim of those things. Do not gossip. It's always best to be quiet and observe and live in that illusion in the positive ways. See things clearly, right? Don't cloud that judgment, because the air, right? You can see things, and the air makes sure there's no clouds. It brings clouds and it moves clouds. So if things is a sunny day, you can see things clearly. But if you cloud your judgment, you bring those clouds in the same way that the air does, and brings those storms. You're gonna get yourself in that cycle. And speaking of that, this sign speaks of that change, right? In life, there's gonna be times that it's gonna be sunny, and you're gonna be fine. But sooner or later, obstacles, trials, and tribulations will come. And those are the hurricanes, those storms. And if you have stability, if you find a way to ground yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, um, you'll transcend. You're going to use those hard times, what you learned, and make something great out of it. And that's what's amazing about this sign. This sign is, when this sign comes out, it speaks really well. With Centella, for the people in my relationship, right, with Latin Kisi, it's something extremely amazing, extremely personal. And to have that in Kisi, right, I respect all lineages. And my godfather, I was just a boy, and I received, according, he spoke to my mom, and all the process of receiving him in Kisi. And I remember my godfather telling me, he said, I'm gonna give you what you need, not what you want, what you need in life. And I always questioned, our spiritual community when we end up receiving so many things. They give you an encuyo, they give you an empaca, they give you this, they give you that, or a bunch of things that you don't need, or un cadera espiritual, una teja, many things. In a spiritual pod, they give you una teja, they give you an empaca, which is like a horn, they give you this, they give you that, they give you a lot of things that you do not need. And this person that has this sign cannot do that, because you will go crazy. You will go crazy. If you're going to get initiated in this tradition and you have this sign, you have to be very, very careful with spirituality, and your godfather, I wish you guys luck, the same luck that I had to have an amazing godfather, made a person to guide you, because my godfather, when I was just a boy, he said, I'm gonna give you what you need. This is all that you need. And he gave me my Nkisi, and I was able to see and do everything I had to do with my Nkisi. I'm not gonna go in depth with all of that, but I received an Nkisi. I didn't receive a spiritual power. I didn't receive, all these things that people receive nowadays. This is what you need. And of course, the whole household was like that. This is what you need. And of course, obviously, through time, I acquired other Nkisis that I needed, that, Centella, my primary Nkisi, brought, that said, hey, he needs this now. He needs this now. And, from one, hopefully it's not from one day to another, you receive 12 Nkisis or 12 spiritual powers, or you receive Chango, Chung, or if you're La Ocha, you receive all these Orishas, and if you're in Fa, you receive all these powers and all these, no. It takes time for those, the things that you receive, to find stability, que se afinquen, for things to develop, for you to adjust for those things. It takes time, it takes practice, it takes growth. You have to grow. You cannot speed the process. And the person that has the sign wants to speed, wants to eat up everything, wants to study, learn everything, learn to do this, do that, wants to move very fast, wants to balance out the same way, bring change to their life very fast. One day they're here, and the other day they're somewhere else, way off the path, worrying about other things. So that's why you need to have a good mentor, a good godfather, somebody that can, ground you, bring that stability, and tell you, hey, this is the path. And when he sees you, getting off the path, let you know, hey, get back on the path. You're getting off. You're not seeing things right. You're clouding your judgment. This sign speaks of the witches here, Wicca, paganism, all these traditions, everything that has to do with spirituality speaks here in this sign. But mostly the in Salem and all those witches and all that type of stuff, tarot card readings and that type of magic or medicine, if you want to call it, candle magic and things like that. This sign speaks of it. I personally never got involved with it because that wasn't my tradition, and I was lucky to, have a great godfather. The ways he taught me. So if you guys this time the person went predita for sure, that the person is a spiritualist. All of them are. When Masa, if at least Masa, if they have that sign, extremely deep spiritualists. They have psychic abilities. Tia also, all of them have, but this sign speaks of the dead. You have the ability to be a medium, to see, to speak to the dead. And obviously divination, because we spoke about the air and this communication and carrying information or binary codes. The waves of Wi-Fi and all of that has to do with waves, sine waves and ones and zeros. That's a binary code. The same way this. See, ones and zeros, all of that have to play a part with it, and the person is able to interpret, to receive, to understand those messages from the ancestor or the spirit world. They just have to, find stability, ground themselves. And I had trouble with that. I really did when I was younger, because I received my Inkisi when I was 13, and my godfather did a phenomenal job, keeping me on the path. But I had trouble. Late nights, I had trouble, a lot of trouble. At night, sleeping, and then later on in life, I had trouble with speech and the sense, and I would hear music when I would be sleeping, and certain things that would happen to me, phenomenal, and seeing shadows, and I didn't want to let nobody know, wait, I'm seeing shadows. I never let nobody know anyway, but I would see shadows from time to time, and or get this feeling. I cannot explain it, but there's a feeling that it's like an intuition for me. I get it, and whatever I felt, it just happens. I see it, I feel it, and it's very deep. And this sign speaks of all these signs. You have to keep that in mind. Another thing, I want to thank you guys. I gave you guys 4 videos of water, fire, the earth, and now air. These are all the videos I'm gonna do for now on the book. The other Dikengas, or the other signs, they all speak of nature, and they all have their binary code. They're all a binary code that carry a message. When you're doing consultation, when you're speaking with your Inkisi, it gets extremely deep. From now, I've been emailed, to do the Spanish versions. I got like 32 emails. You should do the Spanish version, and that's what I'm gonna work on from now on. I want to thank you guys for your time. Like the video, share it, subscribe, and if you have any questions, you can leave it in the comments, or my contact information is there. And if somebody's watching the video that haven't watched the other ones, watch, Masatilla Mokumbe, and now this one, Kobongola. And the book is for sale on Amazon. So you can just look it up in the book department and put my name, Tata Matamba, and it'll be there. I want to thank you guys. Have a nice day. Salam alaikum, alaikum salam.